We'll start for our subject, that is a hydrology and water resources engineering, that is HWRE. Okay, I welcome all of you. Now today we are going to start for the unit number 1. That is a hydrology. In whatever the one, so unit number 1 is a hydrology. Then its a weightage of the mass for university examination is about 4 plus 3 7, 7 plus 1, that is 8, means 7 to 6 to 9 marks weightage is there for the university examination point of view. Then its contents are, first one is introduction to hydrology. It's a definition, history and importance of hydrology, the hydrological cycle, weather and its precipitation potential. Then its forms and types of precipitation. I would like to mute all. Okay. Then different methods of measurement, factors affecting precipitation at a location, correcting precipitation data, estimation of the missing data, then estimation of extreme values, rain gauge network, determination of average precipitation over the catchments, analysis of precipitation data, mass rainfall curves, intensity duration curves, concept of depth area duration analysis, frequency analysis. It is there under the precipitation. The next part is evaporation and evapotranspiration. It includes factors affecting evaporation, measurement and control of evaporation upon the reservoirs. Then regarding evapotranspiration, it's a definition and it's a measurement. And then the infiltration, which includes the part as process of infiltration, factors affecting infiltration, infiltration indices, effect of infiltration on runoff and groundwater recharge. Okay, so this is about the syllabus of the unit. It is a hydrology, unit number 1, that we had seen yesterday. Now we'll start for our actual syllabus for the unit number 1. So firstly, we will see that what does it mean about the hydrology. Firstly, though we had some preliminary discussion in the yesterday's lecture about the hydrology, how its cycles occurs and all those things. Now we'll go in the detail part of that. Okay, so what is meant by hydrology and its associated previous lecture, previous discussions which we had over the hydrology. So looking into the details of the hydrology. So hydrology is a Greek word which is combination of the two words. The first word, that is a hydro, which means the water, and the second word, that is a logy, it means the study. So hydrology is nothing but the combination of the water and its study. It means that the hydrology is nothing but the whole study of the water. Now you may have a question in the mind that, then if you are saying that the study of water is there, and then what does it mean about the fluid mechanics and all those things? So here hydrology means about the study of the water, or the science of the water rather, we can say, that is from its preliminary phase, that is from its formation phase, we can say. That is, how does it occurs, how does it how does it forms, and how we are going to explore it for various purposes, or how it will be utilized for further purposes, and again how it continues its cycle. That comes under the hydrology. So in the sense, we can say that the hydrology means the science of water, which is nothing but the, or which is deals about the occurrence, circulation and distribution over the earth and below the earth. Means over the earth, it may be over the ground surface, or it may be in the atmosphere, and below the earth means whatever the groundwater we are getting, that groundwater. It means that the hydrology in the broad sense is the water science which deals with the occurrence, circulation and distribution of the water throughout the atmosphere, over the earth surface and beneath the earth surface. So this is a brief idea about the hydrology. म्हणजे थोडक्यात काय झालं, हायड्रोलॉजी म्हणजे काय, तर पाणी आपण जे म्हणतो, ती पाणी ऑकरन्स म्हणजे सापडणे, म्हणजे कसं तयार होतं, त्याचं सर्क्युलेशन म्हणजे डिस्ट्रीब्युशन कसं होतं, आणि त्याचा ऑकरन्स म्हणजे त्याचं डिस्ट्रीब्युशन जे असेल, ते डिस्ट्रीब्युशन तुमचं मग सरफेसवरचं असेल अर्थच्या, किंवा ऍटमॉस्फिअर मधलं असेल, किंवा जमिनीमधलं असेल, ह्या सर्वच्या सर्व गोष्टींचा स्टडी हा पूर्णपणे हायड्रोलॉजी मध्ये केला जातो. आता आपण बऱ्याच वेळा आपल्या मनामध्ये प्रश्न आला असेल की बाबा रे ऍटमॉस्फिअर मध्ये वॉटर कसं येणार. सो व्हॉट एव्हर द मॉइश्चर वी आर गेटिंग, वी आर ऑब्झर्विंग in the atmosphere, that is nothing but the water, we can say. So in sense, I would like to repeat again the definition of hydrology. It is a science that deals with the occurrence, circulation and distribution over the earth's surface, that is in the atmosphere or beneath the earth's surface. That is about the hydrology. Then it is concerned with, means now we are knowing, we are getting idea that now the hydrology is related to the water only. So now after formation of the, or after formation of the precipitation, that is after getting the water, that hydrology concerns with the water in the streams, lakes, rainfall, snowfall, etc., etc., and the water occurring the below the earth surface. It means that the whatever the water we are getting therein, is I am audible? Details. Okay, so this is about a definition of the hydrology. Now we'll see that the hydrological cycle. So how that formation of the precipitation, how the rainfall occurs, again it goes to the ocean seas, again it evaporates, again there is a formation of the clouds, then there's condensates, then there is again a rainfall or snowfall. If rainfall is there, then some amount of the water used to infiltrate in the soil. Then it joins to the springs, then it joins to the streams, rivers, again goes to the oceans, again there is a formation of vapors and clouds likewise. So this cycle continues. So we'll see that now in detail how the hydrologic cycle occurs and what are its different components. Okay, so with the sketch we will go for describing it. So here we are finding that this is the precipitation occurring here. It has been shown here. We'll start from the basic principle. In the next here we will get that this is an sea or ocean we can consider, or the lake we can consider, from where there is a evaporation, and that evaporation is due to the sun radiations. This is a sun which has been shown over here, due to which there is a evaporation of the water from the body of the water surface, or from the water body, we can say. That water body may be the sea, ocean, lake, pond, streams, rivers, canals, etc., etc. Means wherever we are finding that the water bodies, the stored water, from that stored water, due to the sun radiations, it occurs the evaporation. It results in a evaporation of the top surface of the water body, and after the evaporation, that evaporated mass of the air moves in upward direction. As here occurs the evaporation due to the movement of the air, it means that due to the evaporation, that is due to the rise in a temperature, we can say, whatever the water vapors will be there, those are having the less density, they move in upward direction, and at the same time the cold air used to occupy this space. So here the arrows are showing the direction. Okay, so here that cold air will take the position, and this vaporized air will move in a further vertically upward direction. Not only that water vapors, but from the plants, trees, then greeneries, or wherever we are finding the crops, from those crops also there is a evapotranspiration. That is, they used to release some amount of the water through their leaves, and from that part, or from the whatever amount of the water droplets those used to there over the body of the trees, or the body of the leaves of the plants and the trees, from that also, due to the there occurs a evaporation, or that released a vapor from the trees and crops, it also joins the evaporated mass from the seas and oceans, and ultimately they move in upward direction. And once they move in upward direction, they gets condensates there. If they gets condensates and the conditions are prevailing to that, again getting a cold mass, then in that case there occurs a precipitation. Or if there occurs a wind, then then that condensed mass is to move further. Here we are finding that those mass we used to treat as a clouds. Means after their evaporation and evapotranspiration, whatever the moist air is to get collected, or moist air is to have some mass at a particular place in a space, that mass we used to call as a clouds, and those clouds gets moves further in the direction of the winds. And if the winds are not there in that case, due to the again in the further movement in upward direction, when their temperature goes below and below, or temperature goes on reducing and reducing, the whole mass gets condensed, and it results in the change in phase of the water vapors to the droplets. And then those droplets used to fall over the ground surface, or over the seas and oceans, or over the trees and grasses or the crops. So this evaporated mass, after moving in upward direction, condensates, it cools, and again it converts into the water droplets, and then in the form of the precipitation, it falls over the ground surface, or over the oceans or the seas, or where they are getting condensed. Now, the precipitation may be in the form of the rainfall, it may be in the form of snowfall, it may be the drizzle, it may be the slates, it may be the flakes, etc., etc. It means that whatever the condensed mass used to fall over the surface of earth or the water bodies, that mass we used to treat it as a precipitation. Here it has been shown that small water droplets are shown herein. We can treat them as an water droplets, or we can treat it as an ice crystals, okay, or the snowfall we can treat. So when it again comes in contact, or when appears over the surface, consider here as over the mountains or the hills or the earth surface, we can say, after falling over the earth surface, if this is a rainfall, in that case some amount of that rainfall or some amount of that precipitation moves over the surface, okay, some amount of the rainfall moves over the ground surface, and it joins the streams, rivers, and at the last oceans or the reservoirs. Those are artificially formed for the conservation of the water, we can say. It means that out of the total precipitated mass, some amount of the mass used to flow over the surfaces, and it joins the water bodies, small water bodies, it may be the stream, river, and at the last the larger water bodies, that is oceans and seas. But out of that total precipitation, some amount of the water infiltrates in the soil, and it deep percolates in under the soil surface, and the deep percolated amount of the precipitation or the water joins the water bodies, means the groundwater table, we can say, and it results in the increase in the groundwater body, or increase in the groundwater table. And after some time, or after some at some locations, we used to find when whenever there is a occurrence of the rainfall over the mountains and the hills, we used to find some springs. आपल्याला बऱ्याच वेळा डोंगरावरती झरे पाहायला मिळतात. हे झरे म्हणजे काय असतात, तर ज्या वेळेस पडलेल्या पावसाचं काही प्रमाणामध्ये अमाऊंट ते जमिनीमध्ये मुरलेलं असतं, ते जमिनीमध्ये मुरलेलं पाणी नंतर ना, आवाज कट होतोय का रे इन बिटवीन? ओके, जमिनीमध्ये जे मुरलेलं पाणी असणार आहे, ते जमिनीमध्ये मुरलेलं पाणी खाली डीप पर्क्युलेट होत जातं, तसंच जमिनीमध्ये आतमध्ये जातं, भूगर्भामध्ये जातं, आणि नंतर ना ते आतमधले जे कॅव्हिटी असतात त्यांना आपण ऍक्विफर असं म्हणतो, त्या ऍक्विफर्सना जॉईन होतो, आणि ऍक्विफर मधलं अमाऊंट जास्त झाल्यानंतर ना ऍक्विफरला कुठेतरी आउटलेट राहतो, मग त्या आउटलेट मार्फत त्या डोंगरामधून पाणी आपल्याला कुठेतरी बाहेर आलेलं दिसतं, म्हणजे तो आपला झरा झाला, आपण त्याला स्प्रिंग असं म्हणतो. अँड आफ्टर दॅट स्प्रिंग ऑल्सो जॉईन्स द स्ट्रीम, म्हणजे सुरुवातीला कुठेतरी ओढ्याला मिळते किंवा नदीला मिळते, आणि नंतर ना पुढे जाऊन ती सी आणि ओशियन म्हणजे समुद्राला कुठेतरी जाऊन मिळते. म्हणजे थोडक्यात काय होतं की काही अमाऊंट ऑफ वॉटर जे जमिनीमध्ये मुरलेलं होतं, दॅट अमाऊंट ऑफ वॉटर यूज टू मूव्ह फर्दर in a downward direction, and it joins the aquifers, and after that it comes out from the some suitable locations, that is through the springs, and again joins to the water bodies. Some amount of the water gets absorbed by the various trees and the grasses or the crops we can say. म्हणजे काही प्रमाणामध्ये पाणी काय होणार, आता जमिनीवरती पडलेलं ते जी झाडं असणार, जे क्रॉप्स असणार शेतामधली किंवा फॉरेस्ट असणार, त्या फॉरेस्ट मधली झाडं काय करतात, तर ते पाणी स्वतः ऍब्सॉर्ब करून घेतात आणि ऍब्सॉर्ब करून घेतलेलं पाणी जे असणार आहे ते त्यांच्या रिक्वायरमेंट प्रमाणे युटिलाइज करणार आणि शिल्लक राहिलेलं ऍडिशनल जे काय असणार ते पुन्हा त्यांच्या पानांमार्फत बाहेर येणार. दे आर गोइंग टू रिलीज दॅट वॉटर थ्रू द देअर ल्यूज इन द फॉर्म ऑफ स्मॉल ड्रॉपलेट्स. म्हणजे सुरुवातीला काय झालं की सर्वच्या सर्व पाण्याची वाफ झाली, त्याचं रूपांतर ढगांमध्ये झालं, ढगांचं कंडेन्सेशन झालं आणि कंडेन्सेशन झाल्यानंतर ना पुन्हा पाऊस पडला आणि पावसाचं पाणी पुन्हा समुद्रामध्ये गेलं, काही पाणी झाडाने अब्सॉर्ब केलं, पुन्हा समुद्रामधल्या पाण्याचं इव्हॅपोरेशन झालं, झाडाने एक्स्ट्रा ऍडिशनल जे पाणी अब्सॉर्ब केलेलं होतं ते त्यांच्या पानांमधून बाहेर पडलं, त्याचं इव्हॅपो ट्रान्सपिरेशन झालं आणि पुन्हा ती पाण्याची वाफून पुन्हा ढग तयार झाले. इट मीन्स दॅट व्हॉट एव्हर दिस evaporation, condensation, precipitation is there, it continues throughout the year. Believe me that whatever the cycle of the formation of the monsoon is to start, it is a continuous process. It is an throughout the year we can say, because whatever the evaporation is to occur, that evaporation is the main cause to have an precipitation. So this is about an hydrologic cycle. म्हणजे याच्यामध्ये काय काय होतंय, तर पाण्याची जी काही पाणी असणार आहे त्या पाण्याची टॉप सरफेसचं इव्हॅपोरेशन होतं, त्याचा फेज चेंज होतो फ्रॉम लिक्विड टू द एअर. येस येस येस, दे आर देअर इन. पाण्याचं पहिल्यांदा काय होणार, बाष्पीभवन होणार. बाष्पीभवन झाल्यानंतर ना जे काही पाणी असणार ते पाणी पुढे वरती जाणार. Okay, I will repeat it. So this cycle in the collaboration we can say that from the evaporation phase of the water from the water bodies and evapotranspiration from the leaves of the trees and crops, whatever the evaporated mass is there, that is whatever the water vapors are there, those water vapors moves in a vertically upward direction due to the, and they gets condensed therein, and about and the specific conditions of the precipitation, those are most essential, that is having a cold air front we can say. By coming in contact with that, there occurs a condensation. म्हणजे काय झालं की after evaporation there is to form a some mass of the water vapors. That mass we can say here as an clouds, and those clouds, if there is a no blowing wind, in that case they remains there, or if there is a prevailing wind, or if there is a change in a pressure, or there is a pressure difference, in that case it moves towards the low pressure belt we can say. It is from higher pressure belt to the lower pressure belt, and if there the conditions are having the colder and colder, in that case the total condensation of that water vapors is to occur, or the clouds is to occur, and that condensed mass is to fall on the ground surface or on the seas and oceans in the form of the precipitation. And after that precipitation, again it joins the oceans and the seas or the water bodies, and again there occurs the evaporation from the top surfaces of the water bodies and from the leaves of the plants or the crops, and again there is a formation of the clouds, then condensation, and again precipitation. So this is about the cycle of the hydraulic cycle of the formation of precipitation. ओके, त्याला आपण मराठीमध्ये चक्र असं म्हणतो. म्हणजे कारण ही कंटिन्युअस प्रोसेस आहे. पाण्याचं इव्हॅपोरेशन होणार, नंतर ना ते इव्हॅपोरेटेड झालेली पाण्याची जी वाफ असणार आहे ती वरती जाणार, तिथे जाऊन त्याचे ढग तयार होणार, ढगांना नंतर ना थंड हवा लागली किंवा त्यांचं कंडेन्सेशन झालं, कोल्ड मास तयार कॉन्टॅक्ट मध्ये आलं की त्यांचं कंडेन्सेशन होऊन पुन्हा फेज चेंज होणार. म्हणजे वॉटर बॉडी, दॅट वॉटर व्हेपर्स आर चेंजिंग टू द वॉटर मॉलिक्युल्स, आणि वॉटर मॉलिक्युल तयार झाले की पुन्हा ते त्यांची डेन्सिटी जास्त झाल्यामुळे पुन्हा ते जमिनीवरती किंवा समुद्रावरती पडणार, नंतर ना इव्हॅपोरेट होणार, आणि ही सायकल कंटिन्युअसली सुरू राहते. सो दिस इज अबाउट अन हायड्रोलॉजिक सायकल. ओके, we are talking about the cycle, hydrological cycle, with respect to this figure. So after precipitation, some amount of the water is getting absorbed by the crops and the trees, and from that there occurs evaporation. Here it has been shown. Some amount get deep percolate into the earth crust and it joins the groundwater table. Further it moves and joins to the streams and oceans, or streams and the rivers, and deep percolated further water joins the oceans. And from that again there occurs the evaporation, and through that evaporated mass there is to form the clouds, and those clouds get condensed and they again yields the precipitation. And that precipitation may be over the water bodies, that is oceans and seas, or if those clouds has been moved further towards the ground surface, in that case that precipitation may occur over the ground surface. So this is all about a hydrological cycle. Okay, so now we'll see the main components of the hydrological cycle. The main components are broadly classified as transportation component and movement components, you can say. The transportation component is also called as a flow component. So the transportation component of a hydrological cycle includes the precipitation, evaporation, transpiration, infiltration, runoff, etc. Means in the transportation component we can summarize the things those are there in, that is a precipitation, that is the condensation of the clouds and generation of the either a rainfall or snowfall or other form of precipitation. Then evaporation, that is the transformation of the phase of the water from the water to the vapor, that is evaporation. Crops. And then the infiltration. So infiltration is nothing but the movement of the water inside the earth, and then runoff, that is a movement of the water over the earth surface. So it means that after precipitation it may leads to the evaporation directly, or it may leads to the transpiration from the plants or the crops, or it may leads to the infiltration, that is a movement of the water inside the soil, or it may leads to the runoff, means it may leads to the movement of the water over the ground surface. So those things are considered under the transportation component or the flow component of the hydrological cycle. And the second component of the hydrological cycle is the storage component. Okay, so in that the various parameters those are included. Those parameters are nothing but storage on land surfaces. It means that is seas, oceans, ponds, lakes, etc., etc. And the another parameter which is included into the storage components is the soil moisture, that is the amount of water which has been held by the soil particles. Means the whatever amount of the precipitation or the from the hydrological cycle has been absorbed by the soil, that is nothing but the soil moisture. Whereas the amount of that precipitation or amount of the water from the hydrological cycle that has been appearing over the in the water bodies, it is in the seas and oceans, that we are considering as a storage on land surfaces. Whereas whatever the amount of the water which has been getting inside the earth crust, that is considered as a groundwater. It means that whatever the components are there, different components are there of the hydrological cycle, those are grouped into the two main categories or two main groups, that is transportation component and storage component. So transportation component includes precipitation, evaporation, transpiration, infiltration, runoff, whereas a storage component includes storage on the land surfaces, soil moisture, and groundwater. It may be we can see here in that is infiltration we have included into the transportation component, because infiltration is only the process of movement of the water and it is not the storage. Okay, infiltration is not the storage, but it indicates the movement of the water. Precipitation indicates the movement, evaporation indicates the movement, transpiration indicates the movement, runoff also indicates the movement. Likewise, infiltration also indicates the movement of water inside the through the soil. So this is included under the transportation component or the flow component, whereas the storage components are nothing but they are going to store the either water or the ice, whatever it may be. Here we are considering the precipitation in the form of water, so that is the rainfall. So if the rainfall is there, in that case the storage components may be the uh, storage of the water only, that is appearance of the water over the or in the various structures, that may be the man-made structures or that may be the natural structures. Natural structures means seas and oceans we can say, or the natural bodies we can say, seas and oceans. So in this way, the whatever the various components are there of the hydrological cycle, they are grouped into the two parts, or in the two groups rather. There is a transportation group and storage group, or transportation components and the storage components. Now we'll move for the next part of the hydrological cycle. That is how it occurs. We'll summarize the things now. The water evaporates from the oceans and the land surface to become a water vapor, that is the part of atmosphere. Then the water vapor is transported and lifted in the atmosphere until it condenses and precipitates again on the lands and oceans. Then the precipitated water may be intercepted by vegetation and becomes the overland flow, that is the runoff we can say. Then some amount of the water infiltrates into the ground and flow through the soil as a subsurface flow, and it discharges into the streams as a surface runoff. Then the infiltrated water, which has been moved in the vertical downward direction into the soil crust, in the earth crust we can say, the infiltrated water may percolate deeper to recharge the groundwater and later emerging in a springs and seeping into the streams to form a surface runoff, and finally flowing out to the sea or evaporating into the atmosphere as the hydrologic cycle continues. It means that from the beginning of the evaporation from the oceans, seas, and from the various other water bodies and the trees, etc., that water vapors moves vertically upward in the atmosphere and it condensates and results in the precipitation from the clouds, and that precipitated or the precipitated amount of the water, it either get intercepted, means get obstructed by the vegetation, it may be absorbed by the soil, then it may overflow over the ground and joins the surface runoff, and whatever the amount of the water which has been moved in the soil or infiltrated into the soil, it either joins the water table or it goes deep in the deep, and again by joining the water table it comes out from the suitable location, suitable points we can say, that is in the forms of the springs, and then those springs again joins the streams and the rivers and at the last ocean, and again there used to happen a there occurs a evaporation and the cycle continues. So this is about the summary of the hydrological cycle. Now the next one is the next part of our syllabi is the water distribution on the earth. So now we are knowing that though we are saying that there is a abundant quantity of the water available on the earth surface in the oceans and seas, but we can't utilize it for the all the purposes. We can't utilize it for the definite purposes. For example, for the preparation of the salts, NaCl we can say, we are using that, no doubt, but we can't utilize it for the all the purposes. So we'll see that now how much amount of the water is available for the different purposes. So here in the form of the sketch we will see that about of the all water, that is of 100% of the water which is available over the ground, over the earth we can say, out of that 97% amount of the water is there in the oceans. So here in the figure we are getting the idea that is about 97% water used to appear in the oceans, whereas only 3% water used to appear as a fresh water, or ड्रिंकेबल वॉटर वी कॅन से इन अवर टर्म्स इफ यू विल डिफाईन इट. जे आपल्या भाषेमध्ये जर का आपण म्हटलं तर 100% जे पाणी अवेलेबल आहे त्याच्यापैकी 97% जे पाणी आहे ते समुद्रांमध्ये आहे आणि त्याच्यापैकी फक्त 3% पाणी हे फ्रेश वॉटर म्हणजे आपल्या दैनंदिन गरजांसाठी जे आपण वापरू शकतो ते फक्त 3% वॉटर आहे. 3% वी कॅन से आउट ऑफ टोटल. देन the out of the fresh water, that is 3% we can say, the 79% is in the form of ice caps and the glaciers म्हणजे जे काही आपण बर्फ वगैरे जे म्हणतो हिमालयन टेरेन मधला, that ice caps and the glaciers accounts for 79%, whereas 20% accounts for the groundwater म्हणजे जमिनीच्या भूगर्भामध्ये असणारं पाणी जे आहे ते 20% आहे. And accessible surface fresh water is only 1% is there. Means out of that 3% fresh water, out of that 3% fresh water we can say here in broad sense we are talking about. In broad sense, out of that 3% fresh water, 79% is occupied or it is in terms of ice caps and glaciers, 20% in the form of groundwater, and 1% is the accessible surface fresh water, which can be used for the different purposes like irrigation, industrial development, then drinking, etc. Then out of that 1% we can say that is whatever the available, it is a accessible surface fresh water, it is 1%. Out of that 52% of the water is to appear or observes in the lakes. म्हणजे जे आपण छोटी छोटी जी तळी वगैरे तयार केलेली आहेत ते आपण रिझर्वायर्स वगैरे तयार केलेले आहेत डॅम्स वगैरे कन्स्ट्रक्ट करून किंवा नॅचरल जे लेक वगैरे आपण म्हणतो, in them we used to get about 52%. Is I audible? So out of that 1% of accessible surface fresh water, about 52% water appears in the water bodies such as lakes, reservoirs, and ponds. Okay, and 38% of that 1% accessible surface water, it appears in the form of soil moisture. म्हणजे जी जमिनीचा जो ओलावा जो आपण म्हणतो त्या जमिनीच्या ओलाव्यामध्ये जवळजवळ 38% पाणी आपल्याला त्या 1% सापडतं. तर 52% जे पाणी आहे तर 1% ते आपल्याला रिझर्वायर्स, लेक्स एक्सेट्रा जे आपल्याला स्टोरेज रिझर्वायर्स आपण जे तयार केलेले आहेत other than the oceans and seas, in those ways to find. Then the water within the living organisms such as the plants, all the living organisms we can say, it appears to be about 1%. Then through the rivers it is about 8%, and in the form of the water vapor it accounts about 8%. It means that about the 3% of the total fresh water which is available over the ground surface or over the earth we can say, or inside the earth we can say, including inside and over the earth surface, out of that water vapor accounts, out of that there's a distribution that is a 79% of the ice caps and glaciers, groundwater 20%, accessible surface freshwater 1%, and out of that accessible surface freshwater means which will be used for the various activities, that is for the growth of the plants, etc., or for the drinking for the animals and the human beings we can say, or for the irrigation of the crops, or for the industrial development. That is a through that 52% is appears in the lakes, 38% as a soil organisms, accounts of 8. This is about a general idea about the distribution of water over the earth. Now, the next part we'll go for, there is water resources in India and it's the potential we can say. So the total water potential of a river basins in India is about 188 million hectare meter. We can imagine the figure here. 188 million हेक्टर मीटर्स ऑफ जे आपण 1% फक्त फ्रेश ऍसेसिबल वॉटर होतं म्हणतोय, त्याच्यापैकी रिव्हर्स मध्ये आपण किती म्हटलं, इन द रिव्हर्स वी हॅव टॉक्ड अबाउट एन 8% ओनली. Out of that, if you will talk about the figure of that, then the total water potential of the river basins of India is about 188 million hectare meters. It means that is a huge amount, we can say. That much water potential of the rivers of the India are having. We'll see the chart in detail. That is how much amount of the water that which rivers are contributing for. So if you consider the distribution of the water in the various rivers, then we is to find out of 188 million hectare in round figures, we can say, for the river basins, those are west flowing rivers, म्हणजे ज्या नद्या पश्चिमेकडे वाहतात, for example Narmada and Tapi, those rivers contributes about 16.25% of 188 million hectare meters. Whereas east flowing rivers like Mahanadi, Godavari, Kaveri, Pennar, those rivers are only the major rivers we have considered. Here in our region, we can say that the east flowing river Bhima is also our east flowing river. So talking about all those rivers, by taking into consideration all the rivers, those are flowing towards the east, they contributes about 18.91%, and the Ganga and its tributaries, the gangs and tributaries, the Ganga and its tributaries, म्हणजे गंगा आणि तिच्या उपनद्या यांचं जे कॉन्ट्रीब्युशन आहे ते 29.26%, 29.26% for the out of 188 million hectare meter. Indus and its tributaries and the Brahmaputra, we can say here. So for Brahmaputra river, its the contribution is so high, that is a 31.42. Means for Brahmaputra alone, if you are talking about, its the magnitude is so high, that is 31.42% out of the 188 million hectare meters. So this is about a water potential of the river basins in India, we can say. Now we'll move further. Next part is the major aspects of hydrology. So if you talk about the major aspects of hydrology, then they are the collection of the data. Then in the collection of the data, major aspects are collection of the data, interpretation of the data, and finally prediction of the things. So we'll see one by one. So collection of the data, it includes collection of the data regarding the rainfall, snowfall, runoff, groundwater, evaporation, etc., etc. Means the data related to the water, as we have said earlier, that is hydrology is nothing but the science of water. So collection of the data in the hydrology is nothing but the collection of the data related to the water itself. So the data which is there, which we want to have, or which talks about in the hydrology, is broadly as a rainfall data, snowfall data, runoff data, then groundwater data, etc., or maybe the water vapors, etc., etc. Then what to do by collecting this data? The major thing is that what to do by collecting the data. So by collecting the data, we used to predict the things. So predict the things means what we are going to predict. We are going to predict how much amount of the rainfall that is in the hydrological cycle for the next year or next monsoon year, we can say, or monsoon season, we can say. In next monsoon season, how much amount of the precipitation in the form of rainfall will be there, or how much amount of runoff will be there, how much amount of stream flow will be there, that we are going to predict there. Means in the next aspect, we can say, of the hydrology, after collecting that data, we have to analyze the data. That analysis is nothing but the checking the consistency and its homogeneity. Means as yesterday I had told you that though we used to collect the data of the rainfall by the various rain gauges, some of the times some rain gauges doesn't operate. In that case, we miss that data. So we have to check its consistency. If it is not available, then we have to apply the various techniques to correct that data, missing terms, finding missing terms, and it is analyzing for the missing records and establishing the relations and finding the various statistical parameters. So statistical parameters may be after collecting the rainfall data over a region or over a catchment, we can say, or over an Indian continent, we can say, we will be able to find out the average rainfall which has been occurred, the maximum rainfall which has been occurred, the minimum rainfall which has been occurred, the regions those are having or those have received the maximum rainfall, or the regions those have received average rainfall, and the regions those have received so less rainfall. So we will be able to categorize the things after analyzing the data which we have collected. म्हणजे जो आपण रेनफॉल डेटा, पाऊस कुठं कुठं पडला, किती किती पडला, हा सगळा डेटा कलेक्ट केल्यानंतर ना आपण शेवटी असं सांगू शकतो की त्या डाटानुसार की बाबा रे या ठिकाणी पाऊस जास्त पडला, या ठिकाणी कमी पडला, या ठिकाणी ॲव्हरेज पडला, या ठिकाणी काहीच पडला नाहीये, काही ठिकाणी पूर आला, काही ठिकाणी पाणी काहीच नव्हतं, काही नद्यांना फक्त थोडंसं पाणी आलं, काही नद्यांना त्यांच्या नॉर्मल लेवलला आलं, काही नद्यांना फ्लड आला. Those conditions we are going to establish from the analyzing the data of the rainfall, we can say. After analyzing that, not only restricting ourselves only by talking about the scenarios about the current happenings, that is the scenarios of the rainfall which is occurring in a particular season, we can say, we can go further also. That is prediction. Means we are going to predict now in the next season or on the next day or in the next hour, we can say, how much amount of the rainfall will be there, where it is going to occur, how its the intensity will be there in. That things are nothing but the prediction. So prediction is nothing but the predicting the future scenarios of the different hydrologic events such as rainfall, its peak values, runoff, flood and drought events, stream flow, basin yield, etc. It means that whatever the things we used to listen about the weather, we can say, regarding the rainfall, that is through the IMD, we used to receive that. We used to listen through the televisions and all those things through the news networks, we can say, that there will be the heavy rainfall in the coming 24 hours. There will be the less rainfall in the so many so and so regions. So that prediction is based on the analysis of the data, and they used to have a huge data sets, that is from the previous last hundreds of the years, we can say, and from that scenarios and the current conditions those are there in the happening around the earth, from that they used to develop a relationships, and from those parameters they predicts that how much amount of the precipitation or how much amount of the rainfall used to be there in, or if rainfall will be there, then what will be its peak value, what will be its and due to that what will be the runoff generated, what will be the is condition will be there for the flood, if there is the condition of the flood, then which precautions will be required to have. Such things we used to predict. Number of the times we used to get the notifications from the government agencies in the monsoon, that is there will be the flood condition and some regions must be get vacated, the regions those are nearby the rivers. Those forecasting or the predictions are based on the analysis of the data itself. That is, after getting a heavy rainfall and after getting a huge amount of the water inside the reservoir, they used to get the idea that is in a forthcoming 2-3 hours or forthcoming day how much amount of water will be there, and if that water coming in the reservoir is beyond the capacity of that reservoir, in that case they used to allow that water to move, or they used to release that water from the dam or the reservoirs to the downstream end, which results in the flood conditions. So to regulate those things, we must need the analysis and the prediction, so that we can overcome the conditions like flood and the drought conditions. Okay, so this is about an major aspects of the hydrology in a broad sense, that is collection of the data, analysis of the data, and the prediction part. The next then after getting all those things, okay, after getting all those things, we need to have, or we need to look into the part, that is what is importance of that. or what is the importance of hydrology, we can say. So if you look into the importance of the hydrology, then we can say here, so the so we'll look into now the history and importance of hydrology. So if we look into the history of hydrology, it exists from the so ancient days. खूप वर्षापासूनची हिस्ट्री आपल्याकडे हायड्रोलॉजीची आहे, हायड्रोलॉजिकल सायकलची आहे. वी आर नॉट गोइंग टू लुक इन टू द डेप्थ ऑफ दॅट. सो वी आर लुकिंग इन टू द इम्पॉर्टन्स ऑफ दॅट. So if you look into the importance of that, then the hydrology finds its the greatest application in the design and operation of the water resources engineering projects such as irrigation, water supply, flood control, water power, navigation, etc. In all these projects, the hydrological investigations means that collection of the data, analysis of the data, and predicting the scenarios for the proper assessment of the following factors are necessary or essential, we can say. That is the capacity, calculation of the capacity of the storage reservoirs or storage structures, the magnitude of the flood flows, that to be enable a safe disposal of excess flow, then minimum flow and quantity of the flow available at various seasons, and the interaction of the flood wave and hydraulic structures such as levees, reservoirs, bridges, etc. So we'll go for one by one. That is first one, that is capacity of the storage structures such as the reservoirs. So as the hydrology is to collect the data about all the things, the investigations of the hydrological parameters are essential for the finding the capacity and controlling the capacity, or controlling the inflow and outflow of the structures. Then the minimum flow that will be required to be maintained inside the rivers, that will be again the part of the hydrology, we can say. And the interaction of the flood waves and the hydraulic structures, that is whenever there will be the waves getting generated, in that case they used to hamper over the structures such as the bridges, levees near the oceans and seas, and the reservoirs. So in all those aspects, the knowledge of the hydrology or the hydrology itself is so much essential, and it is so much important. Okay, so today we'll stop here, and in the next lecture we'll go for the next paragraph.